Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making some emergency food ration bars, and they're going to be chocolate ones today. Now a couple of years ago I did do another video on food ration bars, and those were gingerbread food ration bars. And I even added a little bit of icing to it. And I want to tell you that we stuck those things in the Mylar bags like you'll see that I did in that video. If you go and watch it, I'll go ahead and link to it right up here, by the way. And I pulled them out. They sat in our go bags in our rigs for a year and a half through hot summer, all kinds of weather. And I pulled one out, opened it up, and they were as good as they were the day I made them. I could not believe it. They were so good. So that was actually the real trial run on that. So I wanted to do a new video, a new recipe, especially since I have a lot of new followers since that video came out, and you may not even be aware of it. And this time I'm going to be making chocolate ones. Now, the sugar ratio is going to be a little bit different because of this particular recipe, but I'll talk you through some of that. Now, basically a food ration bar is just, if you look at the ingredients, it's just a glorified shortbread with a whole bunch of preservatives and junk added to it. So how can we make these so that they're going to have a good shelf life? Well, I'm going to explain that. Though normally I like using whole fish, especially fresh ground grains, you really want to avoid doing that for something you want for long-term storage because of the fat in those grains can go rancid in a short period of time. So I recommend going with a good organic white flour. Yes, I know it's more processed, it's not as good for you, but remember we're looking at emergency food ration bars. We want something that's going to have a long-term life, that's going to be able to last in all types of temperatures, especially if you're keeping it in your rig, which is what we do with ours. They go in our go bags, in our rig, so if something happens, we need some emergency food, there it is, along with canned sardines and stuff like that. Now, the other thing is, typically in a regular shortbread recipe, you're going to be using butter. That's what makes them so good. But since, again, we're looking at long-term storage, I use coconut oil in my food ration bars. Besides, that way it makes it vegan for those people who need something that's vegan. And coconut oil has an incredibly long shelf life, so that's why I feel comfortable using it in the food ration bar. So here's the thing about food ration bar. So remember, this isn't so much about health, though we're trying to make them as healthy as possible. The main thing is getting all the calories in there. So you're looking at 3 separate high-calorie items. You've got your flour, you've got your fat, and you have your sugar. So we're going to be using a whole cup of organic sugar. I would say you can even use honey, but the honey is going to totally change the texture of it. But honey does have, I think, an indefinite shelf life too, so that's a good option. So let's start. I've slightly warmed this a little bit. Last time on the gingerbread one, I set it on the wood stove and forgot about it. It ended up really melted. You don't really want that. You want it to be soft enough that you can work it. Okay, and in fact, this is still not quite soft enough, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go set this on the wood stove for just a couple of minutes, let it soften some more because I want to be able to mix it with the flour and the sugar. Okay, so my coconut oil is definitely a little softer. It's really hard to soften it without it, halfway melting or mostly melting. That's the kind of tricky part about working with coconut oil. So let's move on to the next step. We're going to go ahead and add in the sugar. Now, if you're not doing the chocolate ones, then you don't have to use a whole cup of sugar. You can go 3/4 of a cup of sugar for this recipe. If you want to just make plain ones, maybe add a little bit of vanilla extract to them for more flavor. Your homemade vanilla extract, of course. Okay, so anyway, just cream your sugar and your coconut oil together. And then from here, what you're going to do is, for the chocolate ones, you're going to add about a half cup of chocolate. Now, keep in mind, cacao. This is raw cacao. I'll link to it below. You may only want to go to a 1/4 cup. And I'm saying this because I've never actually made these in the chocolate. I'm making this up right here on camera as I go. So I would say a 1/4 to a half cup of the cacao in your batter mix here. And you can add more as you go. You may even consider tasting it. Start with a 1/4 cup and then taste it and see if it's chocolatey enough. And then remember, you're still going to be adding flour to this. Okay, that tastes really good with the chocolate, the cacao, and the coconut oil because it tastes kind of like an almond joy. I'm going to add just a little bit more cacao because I know I'm going to be putting in that flour. So that's at least a full 1/2 cup or more. Again, just kind of play it by ear. It's going to depend just how chocolatey you really want these. Okay, and then from there, we're going to add 2½ cups of the, 2¼ cups of the white flour. At least try to get organic white flour. But like I said, you need it to be just a white flour. You don't want any other kind of fat in there that can go rancid. And then this is where you probably want to add it a little bit slower than I did. I always kind of do things stupid when I get on camera and I'm talking and I'm not really paying attention. But anyway, you can put in at least 1 cup, mix it in, then add your next cup. Notice I haven't put in the 1/4 cup yet. Part of that is because I want to see how it's going to hold together, because the 1/2 cup of cocoa powder is going to make it quite powdery as it is, so I may not want to use that other 1/4 cup of flour. And so then take your hands and kind of blend it, because this is going to help you tell if the consistency is right. And I'm looking at this going, I am certainly not going to need that other 1/4 cup of flour with the cocoa in there, or the cacao. Cacao means it's just raw. That's the only difference between cocoa and cacao. You want it so that it's almost like a pie crust, but not quite. And you got to be able to form it and shape it, because the next step is you're going to press it into your pan. Now what I'm going to do before I do this, before I press it into the pan, I'm going to turn my toaster oven on to 325 degrees. That way it can start warming up. And then now just take it all, you can just dump it all right in there. As long as you know it's mixed well and it's going to come together. And then you're going to press it into the pan. Once you have it pressed in the pan, what I recommend doing is going ahead and cutting it first, because it's going to be a lot easier to cut it again once it's baked. If you at least have something to follow. I mean, you probably have to cut it again, but at least having it cut the first time is going to make it so much easier. So get your spatula, kind of consider what size you want here, and just go for it. Just go ahead and cut it. Now I want to make sure it's going to fit into bags like this, because these are what they're going to go in. So I'm going to cut it into 9 different bars. And I'm sorry, I can't tell you exactly how many calories are in there. I haven't counted it all up. I could do the math and get a rough idea, figuring how many cups of sugar and how many cups of fat and how many cups of flour. Now I'm going to go ahead and stick it in my toaster oven, and I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes. Well, this has been quite the time shooting videos. I keep getting interruptions. So, whatever the deal is. But anyway, so I went ahead and finished baking these, and here's what I found out. I let them chill. In fact, I put them in the freezer so I could help speed up the process, because it's coconut oil, and coconut oil, you know, melts at a pretty low temperature. But remember that 1/4 cup of flour I left out? Yeah, I should have went ahead and put it in, because once it started baking, the texture became totally different. So I recommend putting the whole 2¼ cups of flour in, even if you're going to use the up to a 1/2 cup of cacao powder, because it's just, they didn't turn out quite as firm as my gingerbread ones. However, they're still really good, and surprisingly not as overly sweet as I expected them to be. So what you want to do next with these is you want to be able to pack them up in something that you can throw in your go bags to keep in your vehicles, so you have them on hand, or wherever. You can even take them camping or hitchhiking if you want. These more are something I'm thinking of, again, emergency food, high calorie thing. So something you save for when you absolutely need to have those calories. So let's get these packed up. Alright, I'm telling you people, this video, I don't know how, this is probably the most interruptions I've ever had on shooting a video. And then guess what? I finally get the last clip shot and I forgot to hit record, so I think I'm recording now. Yes, I am. Alright, what I did was I took some of these and I put them in these Mylar bags. These are the smallest size I think that you can get like this. I will go ahead and link to these ones below if I can find these same ones, or at least some similar to them. And I didn't try real hard to get all the oxygen out, and the reason why is because the ones last year, like I said earlier, still tasted so fresh and they looked just like this. And a lot of times when you buy stuff in Mylar bags, it's not vacuum sealed. But you can vacuum seal it if you can figure out a good way to do it, whether you try that food saver method or not with the little strip and all that. I messed with it and it was a pain. But since I know this works, I'm happy with it. You can also throw an oxygen absorber into one of these. That's another option after you get it all zipped up. You can melt it, you know, seal it here with a flat iron or whatever if you want. I'm not going to do that. But you can, you know, if you do, then you can rip it off and still have the Ziploc to reuse. But I want to reuse these as much as possible. Now, what I recommend is putting at least one of these in each one of your family's members' go bags. At least one, maybe two or three, and the more different kinds of things like this you have in there, the better. I also, again, recommend sardines. That's another good thing. It's going to last for a really long time, especially if you get the healthy ones. I know you can get them at Costco. I've ordered mine on Costco online, but if I can find them on Amazon, I'll go ahead and link to them below where you can at least look at them, possibly order through there if you want. But Costco, I'm guessing you're probably going to get the better price. So things like that are really good options to have in your go bags for food. I know not everyone likes sardines. I love them. Mr. Rain doesn't. But in a pinch, those sardines are going to taste pretty good if you end up having to hoof it out of somewhere and you need the calories and you need the food. So just a few things to consider to put in those go bags, especially to keep in your car for whatever may happen. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.